Good afternoon, Thomas, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us at Jeppe Boats Blades. It's really good to chat with you, and I know that you've been a really good supporter of the initiative in 2020, and we are grateful for that. So first question, why rowing? What drew you to the sport in the first place?
Yeah, so that's actually a good question, because it never really, it's not one of those sports that you actually come into contact much when you're in primary school, right? So what happened was, back in the day, I was at Leicester Road Primary School, and the master in charge was a lady by the name of Lamorna Canton, who's one of the sort of legendary Jeppe master in charges, right? And I'm not sure if they still do it, but back then what they used to do is the sort of open age group, they'd take a couple of probably the biggest, strongest boys they could find, and they'd take them to the local primary school and say, if you guys come to Jeppe and you do rowing, you can all be, this big and strong type of thing. Or at least that was the subliminal messaging, and so that's what happened. And so in that year, I mean, there were sort of giants like Grant Henkley and some really Jason Edgecombe, fearsomely big, big lads, So these guys rocked up, and they gave a brief intro into rowing, and this is what it's about. And yeah, sort of went home, and very importantly, what they were actually doing is they were recruiting people who were going to Jeppe, and they were sort of getting them to come to, recruiting them for the October rowing camp, because as all the rowers know, that the rowing season actually starts sort of just after the October rowing camp. So you're still in primary school and racing for Jeppe, which was strange in and itself, but that's the way it was done. And so that's what they were doing. That was why you had to recruit early. Otherwise you didn't have back then it was an under 13 age group to field for the first couple of regattas. So it was very necessary. And I'm sure they actually still do it for that very reason. So that's what got me into it. But my father he actually rowed at varsity. So he unfortunately didn't row when he was at Jeppe, but he did row at varsity, and he had very fond memories of rowing at varsity. So he certainly encouraged, that I should take the opportunity and go to the October rowing camp, and that was just a fantastic experience, and a great introduction to Jeppe, and it was a big advantage. You rocked up at Jeppe in January the following year, and you sort of had friends already. You had sort of relationships with some of these large senior guys, and it was certainly an advantage from an initiation perspective, and all everything that used to go on.
Absolutely. So I never had that privilege. I mean, I had that shocker when my first term at Jeppe. We didn't have the guys came to the primary school, and that first, certainly the first term, but those first couple of weeks, and you literally see these giants walking around, and you just can't get out of their way fast enough. And so the fact that you could actually know them and have some form of rapport with them before you got to the school is a big plus. So
absolutely.
How was your time at Jeppe in terms of a Jeppe boy and a Jeppe oarsman? How has that impacted on your adult life?
Yeah, so it's probably impacted almost everything, Greg. The lessons you learn in working in a team environment for a common goal they are lifelong lessons. And I certainly am, anything I've done up until now is really because I was a rower, and I was at Jeppe, right? And some of the coaches that we've had have always said, in a team, and especially in an eight racing was always my sort of passion. The sum of the parts, or the sum of the whole, is greater than the individual parts, and that is so true in almost any environment that you go into, whether it's running a small business or even running a very large business, and, having an executive team or whatever the case may be, if you can get, a group of people galvanized around a difficult goal, and you reach that goal, and that's really something special. And what Ray also taught us is that, if you work really hard in the off season, then you can be really successful in the main season. And I think that's just, that's also applicable to anything in life.
Absolutely.
If you put in more work than what your adversaries are prepared to put in, then you're going to be largely successful.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I know, just as I mentioned earlier on, you've been on the journey with Jeppe Boats Blades for literally from the beginning. So it was beginning of last year. So what are your thoughts about building the Jeppe rowing community and working with current and past oarsmen to equip and to build the club and to build the community?
Yeah, so I'm extremely excited about the Jeppe Boats and Blades initiative, and I was fortunate enough to attend the actual launch of the boat Damascus, and to just get a sense of the sort of vibe of the club, and the vibe of the parent body, and the coaching staff, and it in a lot of ways it reminded me of my time at Jeppe, where you did have this highly cohesiveness between what appears to be a very able coaching body, a very strong leadership at the school, both in terms of the current master in charge and obviously the headmaster, who's done a fantastic job, and then a very committed parent body. I mean, to have achieved what you guys have achieved, and raising the sort of money that you have raised in a COVID year, when sure, it would have been the easiest time ever to say, no, not this year, we're not going to set such a big audacious goal. Yeah, it was extremely impressive, and I think another thing was the spirit of the boys. It was really special to see.
Yeah, well, that's what got us started in the first place, wasn't it? So just in terms of Boats and Blades, it was that spirit, it was that initiative, and that drive from the boys and the oarsmen that reminded us of our past and our time at Jeppe Rowing. And we reckoned, Chris and myself just reckoned, no, guys, it's got to be better than this. And apparently, evidently, there's a lot of Jeppe boys who felt exactly the same, and that's really great news.
Yeah,
so
I mean, when I reached out to some of the guys in my crew, and we had overwhelming support, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So with your time as a Jeppe oarsman, maybe you can explain or just let us know a little bit about your time at Jeppe, what crews you raced with, and if you can give us one significant memory of your time at Jeppe Rowing that you recall with fondness.
Sure, one is difficult. I've got so many great ones.
Always.
but yeah, I mean, we started, and we had the privilege of winning our very first race, and that was certainly a magical experience, and that really, I think that sort of gave us a sense of entitlement that said, we sort of, okay, cool, well, we won our very first under 13 A quad race, so extrapolate that 5 years, then we should win first 8 in 5 years time. It was sort of simple maths, right? It wasn't quite as simple as that, but that was the expectation. And then we suffered numerous defeats in under 14 and under 15. I wasn't always in the A boat. I think I was only in the A boat once or twice, sadly. And then in under 16, fortunately I made the AH. We had an unbeaten season that year. That was certainly, probably one of my fondest sort of periods of rowing. And then obviously our first 8th year, where we won all of the big regattas, including Buffalo, and then the cherry on the top was the SA Champs. And Jeppe hadn't won SA Champs in the first 8 up to that point since about I think 81, or no, it was 90. I can't remember, but it was a very long time before that.
It was 81, and there was another crew. Was it around 80?
81 or 89 or
yeah, 80, could have been 89. Yeah, quite a few gaps there. Yeah.
So there's quite a few gaps, yeah, and then a couple of us were fortunate. I mean, in fact, that year the whole crew got the full colors blazers, so that that was pretty special.
Excellent, yeah,
and,
that's very good.
And a few of us ended up representing South Africa in the under-19 team. So yeah, that was, for a school rowing career, it doesn't get much better than that. You can't hope for much more.
I agree with you. I totally agree. Yeah, great achievements. Yeah, brilliant. Well, Thomas, thank you for your time. We again appreciate all that you've done. We thank you for this time just chatting with you. And please, for everybody else out there, please go check out our website. That's jeppeboatsblades.co.za. And until we chat online again, until we see each other, keep pulling for gold. Thank you very much.